as a leader, you better make sure that here's what you know is always true. Your team will always be modeling you. They will always be trying to replicate you because they view what you do as working. You better be worth modeling.
Yeah.
If you're not worth modeling, none of it matters.
What's up, Full Stack Crew? Today's episode is the continuation of Josh's conversation with Taylor Welch. Got questions or feedback? Email us at podcast@thesalesmentor.com. Here's the show.
Do you think that sales teams should meet every day, once a week? I mean, how does that fit in, like practically? How does that fit in? Do you just say, hey, I'm going to share a story today or a win or something? Like, what does that look like?
I think it depends on the size of the business. Like when we start a brand new sales team, for instance, we usually go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because if there's not a couple units being moved a day, then it doesn't always make sense. But I use sales meetings also as training. So if I feel like the team is really young but hungry, we'll move to every day because I want to train them every day. You know, everything from a management standpoint is really about leverage. You want to lever yourself as much as you can. So if you have a meeting every single day, you take 10 minutes to go over wins, 5 minutes to go over numbers, because there aren't that many numbers if the team is new. And then you take 10 or 15 minutes to talk about the product, talk about the client, talk about the problems in the market, and then offer people an opportunity to role play. When I watched the Belichick and Saban documentary, this was 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. It was a while ago. I realized that we were doing something wrong in our sales meetings. We had a daily stand-up, a daily huddle. And what we would do is we would go in and we would talk about projections and we would talk about things and we would talk. And I watched this documentary at the old house and I'm watching Saban's practices and they're like beating the hell out of each other in practice. Like they're scrimmaging.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we're not scrimmaging. We're just talking. Like, how did you sleep last night? Like, what are your blah, blah, blah. I was like, we're going to scrimmage every single day.
Yeah.
And so we got the team into the room every single day. And we would go around the room, we would role play. And man, that team, that was one of the best teams. Like when you hopped on to the team like a year ago, that was that probably second iteration of that scrimmaging methodology. You had like Anthony and Ben came and went several times. Cole was a part of that process as well, and he got lethal. And it's just like, man, why do these guys get so good? Because every day they're putting their helmet on and getting the hell beat out of them, you know, and then figuring out how to block and tackle. Sometimes the only way you can teach someone how to navigate a conversation is by putting it in a room, being a prospect, and making them do it in front of their peers.
Yeah.
It got the team so good.
Yeah. I can't fathom why people think that like you can say, hey, yeah, I want to be a closer. All right, great. Here's your parameters or your script, or here's the product that they're selling. Yeah, you should, go out there and do that. And like they just expect like they're going to know how to have a cadence, when to slow down, when to speed up, when to properly interrupt somebody or not. Like all of the nuances that make this a true skill. You know what I mean? That's another thing. People forget this is a damn craft.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, like an actual craft that you have to work at, and it takes years to hone it in. And it's like, if you're in any way thinking that like, oh man, they're just, they're not producing numbers. That why aren't they closing that? And it's like, when was the last time they actually practiced closing or practice objection handling or practice, I'll never forget when I came on and they taught me how to change my openings. Because I have naturally, like if I'm not awake, I have a very dad voice. I mean, I'll get down low. I'll be, hey, how you doing today? And it's like, and someone was like, I was afraid doing your call review. And I was like, why? I was very happy that day. And they're like, it doesn't sound it. It sounds very like you're going to kill somebody.
That's like moral authority times 10.
Yeah. And it's just like, I said now. And I realized when someone told me, they're like, hey, have you ever tried smiling when you open up? I was like, no, they can't see me. And they go,
they can feel it.
I go, it's not about seeing you. It's about feeling it. And I'm like, oh, but if I didn't have that like actual role playing or call reviews, I mean, and please feel free to speak on call reviews as well and things of that nature. Yeah. Those are tactical things that aren't sales tactics. They're like ways to really engage it. And it revolutionized because I was like, oh yeah, I should be happy, you know?
Yeah. I think the key there is like you can get a successful team by not training them, but you're going to have to burn through so much talent until by sheer randomness, you find somebody who's already been trained and then they come in. Like, think of the odds on that. You might have to burn through 50, 60, 70 reps to find one or two that can do the job. It's just so inefficient. And so the key is like, don't skimp on training. Like, because if you can find somebody attitudinally, like the reason that we're able to continue growing the way that we are is because we can take somebody with the right attitude within like, what would you say, 60 days?
Yeah.
They're up to speed closing with some of the best.
Yeah. Now, mine was what, 14 days, but
literally seven or like whatever. You know, you had such a match attitudinally, and you're a coach, and you grew up with exposure to this. So it's like, you know, it's not exactly fair, but I understand why you said it, being a closer. If you want an efficient system that is bulletproof, you've got to have state-of-the-art training.
Yeah.
If you don't, you've got giant holes in your bucket. You're never gonna have the sustainability necessary to break in.
Which is why we even have this training that we have and the trainings that we have on teaching people, because let's be honest, most people probably don't know how to train a sales team, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just like, hey, I just need you to close and here's this, you know, and they just hand them this thing and it's like, here's your, you know, your air call number or Kixie number and then go for it. And it's like, you need to get whatever training you can, which kind of goes back to what you originally said. Like, get in the room somewhere, right? Like, there's got to be some type of effort, because I've even seen this from a book you had me read. I forget what it is, but he was talking about like, if you're going to keep a culture, they got to see that you're doing the exact same thing, that you're bettering yourself, that you're staying ahead of them. You don't have to be maybe 100 moves ahead of them, but at least X amount, right?
Yeah, that you're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody wants to follow somebody who's stagnated out. I don't know if you saw this, bro, but there's an audio circulating around Slack right now of a recording of me in 2019, and with some of our old reps. Peyton's in there, Cole's in there, and they're asking me what my drive is connected to. Have you listened to this?
I think I have once.
So everyone right now is like they've just now discovered it, and they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know Taylor used those naughty words and was that intense. Because it's intense, because one of my reps back in the day is sitting me down and he's asking me like, how do you maintain your drive? You know, and I was explaining to him that at the end of a person's life, they will experience a sum average aggregate of the things that they deserve to experience. And he was like taken back by that. I remember being in the room and he was kind of like bothered by that. There is no hack, dude. Like, there's no hack. The secret at the end of the day, like, if you want to train a good sales team, you're going to pay for it. You're either going to pay for it by paying someone else to come in and give you the differential of experience that you need, or you're going to pay for it through 8 years of losing money on your ads because your team sucks. This entire culture societally of like, I want to get things that I did not pay for, does not work. And more than that, it actually communicates to yourself about yourself that you do not deserve the things that you say that you want. And so, man, I paid for all this shit. You paid for all your shit. You know, we went through the trials and errors. We went through the fire. We went through the payments, or we paid in money. We paid in time, all of the above. And I think what we're putting together more than anything is an opportunity for you to pay in the currency that you value least. This is like one of my boys, where Mosey talks about this. It's like time and money are both currency. And you pay for the things that you want in the currency you value least. If you value your time more than money, you are going to invest your money to get the things that you need. If you care about your money more than time, you're going to pay for the things you want via your time. There's a wake-up call, man. Like, people need to wake up and pay attention. Because whenever somebody goes like, well, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. It's like, Oh, you think you're going to live forever. Got it.
Yeah.
That's what you're communicating.
Yeah.
Is that you've got limitless time and you don't have to actually achieve anything by any certain date.
Mm-hmm.
You value your time less than you value your money.
Mm-hmm.
The person who values their time less than their money will always have less of both.
Mm-hmm.
The person who values their time more than money will always have more of both. There are these laws that are written into the world and how things operate. And so it's just like, don't say you want something, go out and pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But how you pay for it says a lot about you. And it communicates to your team as well as it communicates to yourself. And that's the danger.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to follow somebody. I'm bringing this full circle. It's a long tangent. Bringing it full circle though to people want to follow people who are growing. People also want to follow people who have the right priorities in their life. Mm-hmm. And they see you. Your team is watching you trial and error and F everything up and start, stop, undo everything, start over again. They're watching you and eventually the talent is going to accrue to the greatest reservoir of leadership. And that isn't you if you're paying in time on everything. So keep that in mind.
No, it's so good. One of our clients that we're training, it was a big issue. And we thought that they thought that the issue was hiring. We need more people. So we're just pounding people at them. And it's like, I think they went through 20 something people before they hired one person. And it's just like, money loves speed. Yeah. It loves action. You know what also loves speed and action? Hiring. You have the hiring and firing. They also love speed and action. Yeah. And what I had to do was I had to go in and just be like, oh my God, are we not sending them the right people? And the first thing I go through is take ownership. Okay, maybe it is on us. Yeah. So then I had to break it down. I said, you know what? Can I have your team for a week? Let me have your team just for 1 week. And this is all remote. And I'm saying all this because this just really emphasizes what you said. And I go through and I break down everything. I'm like, okay, tell me, I do a 30-minute interview with them each. I'm like, what are you excited about? What are you passionate about? And I find out what they want out of life. Yeah. First of all, nothing. If I can make $5,000 a month, that'll be good. I could do whatever I want in life. I was like, what state or country is it? Not a killer. I was like, okay, well, that's, problem number one is we have low level thinking, low belief system. And then I get into it and I'm like, okay, so how many calls do you have today? They're like, as many as they put on my calendar. I was like, oh, but how many will you dial out? And how many emails will you send? And how many text messages will you send? They're like, when people respond. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started unpacking for a week straight. In those 2 days, they went from barely collecting $1,000 a day to by the end of the week, the guy ended up collecting $21,000.
Yes, sir.
In 1 day.
Yep.
And what I had to do was go back to said sales manager. And I said, so this is a part of the conversation where I now tell you everything that I gathered from your team in a week. And he's like, okay, tell me. I was like, you need to realize this is going to be the worst conversation we have collectively had together. And he was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, can I be honest with you? By the way, the greatest thing, I say this, I don't care what podcast I'm on, what I'm doing. I always say the greatest thing you could ever do is ask permission. Yeah. When you ask permission of somebody, you have full reign to whoop someone's tail. And it is the best. And so I asked him, I said, I'm going to tell you. And he was like, okay, go for it. And I was like, you don't have a hiring problem. I'm like, you are a piss poor sales manager. And this is why. And I had all the data to back it up. And boom, flood works. I had a kid. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know what I want. And what happened
They're replicating him.
They're replicating their freaking leader. Yeah. If people could realize when you have ish going on, which is so important, why, you doing your morning formula, you doing I think you recently put something out on YouTube, right? About your routines, right? And you go through everything and you go through your why. When you want to accomplish anything great in life, and you can attest to this and speak on it, it's not for you. You let that routine go. You let that formula go. First, it'll affect your household. Then it'll affect your business, and then so on and so on. And so now the little guy who has to hit 190 calls in a day isn't doing it because you don't do it. Yeah. And it revolutionized. And so now we're having a whole entire paradigm shift, and we're actually addressing what's really going on, which is the fact that there is a real root issue at the core. Can you think of a time when that hit you hard in, what are we, 10 years now in? 9 years?
8.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
8 years of this business, like where that hits you really hard as a sales, in sales, or as a leader, maybe just in general, when you're like, oh my God, what I'm doing is affecting everyone else.
Yeah, I think I probably learned, honestly, this would go back to, I probably learned this before,
Okay.
through my upbringing, because it used to be, I think, more popular than it is today. Again, today people don't want to take responsibility for anything. But when you when you listen to Jim Rohn or Zig or any of those guys, like it's pretty common mantra of like lead by example, like don't all of these mindsets like Jim Rohn, man, when he talks to you about don't ask for your life to get easier, you just need to get stronger, you just need to get better. It brings in an inherent responsibility into your own life. And I think that I was able to just take that and kind of put that into everything I was building. There are moments, though, along the way where the team has gotten loose, teams have gotten weak. And in hindsight, it's because I had gotten weak. Like, man, if you even look at, you went through this journey with me last year, 2 of the big companies, I was really not present. I had disappeared. And there were key leaders that were modeling me, trying to be me. Well, man, as a leader, you better make sure that here's what you know is always true. Your team will always be modeling you. They will always be trying to replicate you because they view what you do as working. You better be worth modeling.
They wouldn't have signed up.
They wouldn't have signed up. They would not be here. Well, what happens when your team models you and the things that they're modeling break your business? You got to take responsibility for that. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's where I was. And so you saw it. You saw it with the sales leader, with the marketing leader, with the operations leader. It's like all these people are modeling me. And what does that look like? Well, they're not in the office, doors closed, not approachable, like fear, all of these things that are just not great things. This is just me opening up and being real. Like,
Yeah.
I've built things really well. And then I've also like broken things that I built that was great.
Yeah.
So you got to be worth modeling.
Yeah.
If you're not worth modeling, none of it matters.
Yeah. It's good. How would you, because this is really important. Like, I don't know if you like to go back or think about regrets or redos or any of that.
I do it all the time.
I actually think regret is awesome.
It's a powerful tool.
I used to think it wasn't a powerful tool, like, because I probably came from the culture of like, oh, I have no regrets, I have no regrets. And when I realized a regret is actually just ownership.
Yep.
Like you're actually taking ownership of what happened, whatever your role was in it. Even if you were a, quote unquote victim in a situation, you're still taking ownership of that situation. And it's like, if you could do it all over again, like, and you get to know what you know now, and you get to go back and start, Evans and Welch and TF and all that over again from a sales perspective, how would you build it?
Oof. I would have been unapologetically intense from the beginning. Because intensity is part of my DNA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my post 2 weeks ago, but like I sort of had a realization that in my natural state, I'm pretty intense and aggressive. And over time, the bigger we got, like the more I was told, like, you can't talk that way. Did you see this post?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You can't talk that way. Like you're talking and people feel like you're better than them. Change that. It became a little bit bureaucratic. And there were probably 3 or 4 times in the last 8 years where I've pulled back quite a bit because I thought it was what I was supposed to. I was told that that's what I was supposed to do. When in actuality, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to be fully aligned with who you are, and you'll attract people like you and you'll repel people who are not. Why apologize for that? Don't change it.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. I would have been unapologetically intense from the beginning, because I had this start-stop going on. Like, dude, the moments of the most extreme growth for me have come from being who I am, which is intense. If you shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
If you can't hang, well, God bless you and God bless America, but get the hell out. Like, go somewhere else where your mediocrity is accepted.
Yeah.
It's not accepted here. Well, that is intense. It's harsh. Like, people will hate you for that. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
People only hate the things that they wish they could have done themselves. So they're going to hate you.
Yeah.
If you have no haters, you are not winning.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you stop producing. Elon Musk, Grant Cardone, whoever you want to say, like whatever. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the most successful and magnetic personalities in the history of the world will go in and divide a room 50-50, and the people on the left hate you. The people on the right would jump off a bridge for you.
Yeah.
When we begin to try to placate all sides of the room, we lose all sides. We lose 100% of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the other thing I would say, besides just not giving a shit what anybody thinks about you, which is basically the first lesson.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is allow your top players and top producers to, within reason, kind of get whatever they want. Every sales leader, like in the industry, 90% of them came from us.
Mm-hmm.
They just outgrew the thing that they were building in. Mm-hmm. And so I think I had opportunities back in the day with certain people to promote them into different cuts. But man, when you have a superstar, mm-hmm. like when you have Kawhi or LeBron or whatever, within reason, you just give them whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
And I think people are like, oh man, nobody's worth. It's like, no, yeah. Give them whatever they want. Like mm-hmm. the person at the very top should be making 10 times more than the person at the bottom. Mm-hmm. 15 times more, 20 times more. It doesn't matter. So I think it's back to our best reps, our best producers. And dude, single-handedly by themselves, they funded like 50 full-time employees by themselves. So what is it that sometimes gets in the way and says like, oh man, this person's making too much money, or this person wants to take over this, don't let them. It's just ego.
Yeah.
It's just not being able to make room for somebody who is developing superstar talents in the organization. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big regret of mine, because like there are two people right now that come to mind, like top of mind, first and second. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, if I would have made room for them, like everything they're doing now would have been accrued back to my organizations. Mm. I just didn't make room for them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of regret real fast, regret is a powerful tool. Future regret is a powerful tool as well. So if you fast forward to the end of your life, or forget that, that's too deep and too intense. People don't want to do that work. If you fast forward a year from now, what are all the things that you regret? And then just systemically go erase them and eliminate them. Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes we make wrong decisions because we're making today decisions. We're stuck in the moment. And if you want to go there later, like I was just writing about this yesterday because I'm going to produce some material around this, around the concept of future regret and how to eliminate future regrets from happening by going there, feeling the consequences. Mm-hmm. And then when you pop back into reality, the decisions require no discipline. Like you eliminate the need for discipline. You don't have to make yourself do anything because you just went through the damn regret of failing. And it's a really cool tool to go through and like execute on everything in your life that's important, so you avoid the future cost of regret.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it's long-term goals govern your short-term decisions
100%.
Vibes, where it's like, I love how you just said you won't need discipline because in essence, by doing the exercise, you just gave yourself the discipline.
Yes.
And it is like,
yep.
I mean, it really, really is good. Can we go back to something and get, but we're about to get real.
Okay.
So like real. Okay. You said, number one lesson, not giving basically a shit what people think. That's how you would redo it if you're doing sales training. Be yourself. Unequivocally be yourself.
Yeah.
With that being said, as an intense person myself, where is the line though? Because like, I think somebody could hear that, where they're in training, podcast, whatever, hear that and just be like, damn, this dude is like an asshole. But you're not. Like you actually care about people, and you're a phenomenal father and a great husband, and a subpar closer. But like you just like, just kidding, I'm the best. But like your ability, you're actually kind. So where is that line? Because you say, because I'm with you, and like even when I came back to join forces, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna be me though, because you just need to accept that, or it won't be a good fit because I have to be me. But being me and being intense and all that doesn't mean that I would ever destroy a human being, because I care about people, and so do you. So where is that line so that there's a little bit more clarity?
Like there's two lines. There's an X and a Y. The first line is about me. The second line is about them. Which
Okay.
one do you want me to start with?
Whichever one. I'm ready to learn from you.
All right, cool. I'll start with me.
Okay.
And this is the less important. Them is more important. But we'll start with the me axis.
Okay.
If something is true that someone says about you, you have no defense and no business defending yourself.
Mhm.
If something is false, you have no need for defense, and therefore you shouldn't defend yourself.
Mhm.
What's real is more important, and what's real governs behavior. So if somebody's listening and they're like, oh man, Taylor's an asshole. Well, that's not true. So I don't really care because the people closest to me respect me the most.
Mm.
So have at it. If the only way for you to build your empire is through fractionalizing the breadcrumbs from my empire, I don't want to steal that opportunity from you. Go for it. You see that?
Yeah.
There's power in that. People waste their lives defending things that, like, if you really look at it, if somebody accuses me of something that's true, I have no defense and I should just accept it and apologize. If they accuse me of something that's false, what's the point of defending it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not real, so it'll come to the surface. The them side of the equation is, and I hope I'm answering your question, but the them side of the equation is, I really do care about people, but there's layers of care. And so when I make a decision about somebody that is good for their short term and bad for their long term, do I really care about them?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I care about my reputation with them?
Mm-hmm.
Very different, you know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes people, I say sometimes, all the time, people send screenshots of people talking about me on the internet, and it's like haters are like badges. Like you have to earn them, and then you have to like make them into trophies and like stack them.
Yeah.
Because that's just a sign that you're winning somewhere. But there are people that, like, they're so short term and small minded that they believe that the aggression is, mean or it's hurtful. But the reality is, it's more mean for me to leave someone stuck in their incompetence than it is for me to push them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is a mama bird mean because she kicks her babies out of the nest? Technically, that shit's mean.
Especially knowing that they can die.
Yeah. I would believe that would make her an asshole.
I mean, California would have a field day if we operated that way.
Yeah. But such is, like, that's how you create, like, the survivability of the species.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if all the mama birds all around the world just decided to stop doing that. And then all birds went extinct because they couldn't fly, they couldn't damn feed themselves, and they just...
Yep.
What do we define kindness as? What do we define being an asshole as?
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake about it. It is irrevocable, irreversible. Nobody can argue with it at this point. It's fact. If you can't see it, you're stupid.
Yep.
People rise when they're around me. They rise when they're around you.
Yep.
And long term, the commitment to a person's future outranks and outweighs my commitment to their current stagnated self.
Right.
Does that make me an asshole? Maybe for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in the long term, it's about them.
Mm.
Does that answer your question?
100%. And I mean, and what I love about it is because, like, I get that and I understand that because I am close to you.
Yeah.
And so I do get to see that. What I want is for people to really understand the most powerful thing of what you said to me in how you explained that was that it actually made you have to be confident in who you are for both axes to work.
Yes.
And that is what is missing in leadership, in sales leadership, in business owners. They're actually not confident in who they are. So the haters actually mean something to themselves because they don't spend time with themselves. They don't ask themselves the right question. They are not doing their due diligence as you and some of, the greats in this industry do, where they're like, no, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? What am I excited about? What am I passionate about? What am I fighting for? And then when a false statement comes, it's like, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even I think I saw Gary Vee talking about that the other day where he's like, man, I feel bad for them because, like, something's off in them. Yeah. Because he's so confident and assured in who he is And I feel like that's how you live and operate. It's like you're like, I am Taylor, and it's awesome.
Yeah, dude. It does. It reveals more about the other person than it does about who they're talking about.
Mhm.
And like you never really ever see somebody making judgmental statements about people like beneath them.
Mhm.
They're usually like attention grabbers, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's true. Like I know marketing at a level that I can penetrate any market. And sometimes the fastest way to penetrate a market is to find the biggest kingpin in the market and publicly go after them.
Mhm.
People do that all the time.
Yeah.
But you never do that backwards. And so sometimes people just need to wrestle with their own insecurities. Like if you become a kingpin in your market and people start getting aggressive and hating on you, it's just because they're trying to go through market share. But we take that personally, and we don't have the security or the confidence to know that we're doing the right thing at the right time. We're being appropriate in the moment. And if you don't have clarity on that, you're aimless and you're lost. And eventually, your team is going to sense that, and they're going to want to follow somebody different.
Yeah,
you know.
That's good. We probably need to wrap this up here soon because, well, production, and they're gonna have to make all this. But I do have a couple things I love to do when I'm in these settings. Sales.
Yeah.
One word. What is it? What does it mean to you? What is sales in one word?
I'm going to give you the same word that I gave in 2016. It hasn't changed. Leadership. That's it.
That's good. I'm not going to have you expound because I'm actually going to have you expound upon that later in something else. So
Okay.
I love that. Leadership. That's powerful.
It hasn't changed in 7 years. Yeah. From like my first 1,500 calls, I was like, this is really, my dad taught me leadership. Saban taught me leadership. Lombardi taught me leadership. It's all the same. Coaching is leadership. Sometimes sacrificial leadership. Sometimes the best salesperson in the world, sometimes the best sales tactic in the world is not allowing somebody to buy your product because they're not ready for it. Whoa, like that doesn't compute. People are like, that's not sales. Sales is about bagging the deal. No. Sales is about leadership, which really invokes this viewpoint of service and protection. You want to protect your clients. You want to protect. It's such a healthy delineation of what we really do as sales professionals. We lead the market to the places that they innately want to be. That's it.
That's good, man. Parting words. If you were like, this was it, you got one time to say what you had to say in a 30-second elevator pitch to a business owner who was trying to build a sales team or grow, and figure this whole thing out, what would you say to them?
Yeah, so we were talking about a book before we started recording, The Splendid and the Vile.
Yeah.
You probably can't see it, but I'm a fan of history with the books and like studying leaders of old. And man, your life's not that hard. You just are weak. So how about we grow up? How about we widen our perspective? Get into the business or get out of the business, it doesn't matter. But I think the number one plague for business owners is they lack perspective and therefore they become weak. Well, my ads aren't working. You ate last night. Grow up. Well, my lead salesperson quit. Great news. There are more salespeople. You read in that Splendid and the Vile, Churchill's trying to make the decision to pull his Air Force out of France because he thinks he's next, or to leave him there. If he pulls out of France, then France falls and hundreds of thousands of people die. If he leaves them in France, then Britain is a target. Okay, so you have a lose-lose situation. Do you kill 150,000 French soldiers, or do you leave 1 million civilians as a target? You have a lose-lose. So the last time that you've had to make a decision that difficult, think back to it. Oh, you've never had to make a decision that difficult? Grow the F up.
Yeah.
You wanted this life. Learn from the people who have mastered it, but more than anything else, like tend and protect your perspective, because out of your perspective and your grid comes what you feel is hard or easy. And if things are hard for you, it's because you're looking at them the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
That's good. That's good. I love it. I love it. Well, thank y'all for listening. We're super excited. As always, you know, like you can like, comment, share. You can I think the most important thing is if you got something out of this, it's very powerful for you to make sure that you share that, because there could be someone else who needs to get just the same, you know, revelation that you've got out of this. So make sure you share it. That's the most powerful thing you can do for us. And we're grateful to have you. As always, we'll have everything in the comments, links, bios, yada, yada. But we're glad that you're here, thankful for it, and tune in until next time.